Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Roundup. Man, once again, there are awesome stories. We've got Exoprimal, obviously the hottest game of, in fact, the decade and what's going on there. Also, Xbox having a fun little bit of psychology that made me realize something that it turned out was already reality. Then we have really good consumer protections being enshrined in law. Like, this is literally a clean win for me and you, and that's something we should be, I think, pretty happy about, as well as other things. Sega and their super budgets, and Call of Duty opening up a little bit of Pandora's box. Let's get stuck in then. So, Exoprimal. It is Capcom's live service game, and it is certainly a bit interesting. So you look in Steam, and people are liking it. We have a 75 on Steam, but elsewhere, man, things are pretty damn rocky. The Xbox Store is often a fairly negative place. It's sitting here at a 2.6 out of 5, which is not particularly fantastic. And ultimately, the game itself is maybe not launched in the most fantastic state because there's a significant time investment before the game really opens up to you and kind of gives you those just freedom, breadth of options. And also, there's quite a lack of true PvE at launch that is souring the experience for a lot of people. It was, for me, the main thing whenever I listened to the early skill up video on it about how they're really going for the PvE VP. I would agree with him that that is something that inherently will kind of limit your market, and I think especially within this genre for what people want. Now, when we break down this data then, so yes, 667 reviews on the Xbox Store, 2.6 average, 965 reviews on Steam, 75% average. Many of the negative reviews, though, do have under 8 hours of gameplay, and they're often then being countered by reviews that have got more than 8 hours of gameplay. And then on review aggregator OpenCritic, you see a 73% score, which is fair enough, but 11% of critics ultimately recommending that people play the game. The Steam player numbers are pretty low, right? At like an all-time peak of 4,500. Which is pretty rough. So in short, it's a really odd situation for a game's reception. We essentially have, on Game Pass, a lot of people getting the game for no additional cost and seemingly not being that fussed. We have a lot of people who are reviewing it critically and not liking it, yet a better time on Steam. And I think that's people who absolutely know that this is a genre game, and because it's a genre game, they pretty much know what they're expecting. Not that I would know if the Earth Defense Force crew were showing up to play this game, but I mean, hey, whether it's space bugs or dinosaurs, you are in some sort of mech suit fighting a bunch of things, and that's pretty cool. But a part of it that's odd, though, is the monetization of this game. So there is, of course, the Standard Edition, the Deluxe Edition with the first Season Pass, as well as early unlocks for 3 more suits, as well as cosmetics. And then there are 5 other $5 cosmetic sets, as well as a bundle that gives you every other cosmetic for $40. Don't you love it when you look at a game on Steam and there's just a whole bunch of DLCs? Yeah, so it's a bit of a funky little situation, I suppose. Then imagine this is the same bunch who monetize Resident Evil 4 Remake's upgrades, right? Imagine what they can do when a live service game gets going. That's a little bit spooky. And then there's all of this mixed around a lot of people thinking Exoprimal. What? This is your big new IP? Why? What's the hook? And it's a funny thing because Capcom are one of the strongest players in the space right now. I've enjoyed a lot of Capcom games, most recently Resi 4 Remake, which I thought was an utterly terrific experience. Now, though, we have, of course, a Capcom game that is really not coming out to the sort of reception that they have been used to lately. I think a lot of people are therefore skeptical that this game will survive as a live service past a year or two. And to be honest, I don't think it will. From Jeff Gersman, here's Exoprimal. Kind of feels like a proof of concept more than a full $60 game, but it's a full $60 game. Unless you've got Game Pass, I suppose. Just not the most thrilling review, but I think it is one that absolutely does track. And now, speaking of Game Pass, they've actually revamped that, and that's the next story today. So, the acquisition is of course going ahead, and that means that Microsoft can start ticking off other things on their to-do list. And one of those is killing Xbox Live. Yes, Xbox Live Gold is dead. Now everything is being brought under the Game Pass family, the Game Pass branding. So now the way that it works is mostly a rebrand, where you have 4 different plans. There is Game Pass Core. which basically is the same as Xbox Live Gold. It gives you your console multiplayer and 25 games that you can just play, as well as member deals and discounts. Then you have Game Pass Console, which is $10.99 a month. It's got everything you would expect, but it does not have online multiplayer. If you want online multiplayer, you're going to have to fork out money for Ultimate. Now, initially I thought, that's a double dip. And then I realized, hang on a second. This is just a rebrand. That's what they did anyway. It's just that by shifting the names around, they made me realize what the business model already was. So I guess the thing that really matters then is that base tier and what's going on there, because ultimately that's got to fight against the base tier of what Sony have got going on with PlayStation Plus. PlayStation Plus is wildly popular. Getting those games every month is a really good value to a lot of people, in addition to being able to play the multiplayer games. So getting a bunch of these up front, like Dishonored 2, Doom Eternal, Fallout 4, Fable Anniversary, Fallout 76, Halo 5, Guardians, Halo Wars 2, Senua's Sacrifice, that's great. Descenders, that's great. ESO, Tamriel Unlimited. So it's a sort of middle to strong lineup, but it's very notably, mostly Xbox Game Studios titles, but very much mostly old Xbox Game Studios titles, right? I mean, it's certainly not, Forza 5, Master Chief Collection, Halo Infinite, some of those more, ostensibly heavy hitter games. Now, they've said they'll be adding to this, maybe 2 to 3 editions a year. So it's really just going to be this versus what Sony's doing. I think, though, their real plan is that they want things to feel like a gradated upgrade, because, previously, right, it's like Game Pass, Xbox Live Gold, different things. Here, they're rebranding Xbox Live Gold to be the first rung in the Game Pass ladder, and ultimately, I think for a strategy, I think it's actually a pretty sound one. So that's what Microsoft are up to. Next, then, we've just got some more protections, and it's pretty good. Right, so not content with making sure that everyone is getting to use USB-C, and therefore, I suppose, getting us all closer to that one cable lifestyle, with, of course, the caveat that multiple protocols happen over what appears to be a USB-C cable, meaning, hey, is it Thunderbolt 4? Who knows? Is it USB-C? I mean, the connector is, but who knows how it is? Cables are hell. Anyway, we all will be getting USB-C, at least in the EU. That's pretty nice. They're now stepping in to make sure that upcoming handhelds are getting the best post-launch support possible. And basically, they are enshrining right to repair laws in the EU, as well as good practices on battery management. And in particular here, handhelds like the Switch, Steam Deck, and ROG Ally from 2027 will be required to have removable/replaceable batteries that are removable with generic tools. And that means no, say, highly specialized proprietary and therefore significantly marked up tools, which, for repair providers, I think will certainly be a good thing. A lot of them often get very salty at Apple about that sort of thing, as an example. Now, this is going to take until 2027, and it's not going to be a retroactive thing, so that does mean the Switch 2 will probably fly under the radar. But, hey, maybe for a Steam Deck 2, an ROG Ally 2, any new SKUs that come out in that time, it does mean that we have a little bit more protection there, which I think is certainly a good thing. I will have to double check after I record this what the status is on joystick, because in a way with joystick drift, you are selling shit that will fail. You're selling stuff that will fail, and I don't think that's particularly okay. And of course, yes, we can go get some aftermarket Ghoulie kit, Hall Effect thumbsticks that, of course, will never fail because, electrostatic shit and magnets, isn't that cool? But yeah, that's the situation there. Overall, pretty good, I would say. Next then, Sega and their super budget. This is a story we've been hopping about for the last year. We've got new comments now from Yukio Sugino, who is their COO. Right, they've been talking a bit about the company's future plans for the next generation of consoles, and this is honestly where it gets kind of interesting to us, because we're dealing PlayStation 6, right? Big budgets as all of these different brands try to absolutely muscle their way in to be strong in the next generation. So, speaking to Famitsu and then translated by Game World Observer, we could basically see that he believes that a 10 billion yen or $72 million budget will become the norm for the Japanese AAA game when the next consoles arrive. But what I found to be fascinating is actually some other stuff from the interview. Here's some really cool stats. 80% right, of their PC and console revenue is coming from overseas players, whereas 90% of their mobile game revenue is coming from the Japanese domestic audience. And that's actually why they bought Rovio earlier this year. I didn't even know that Sega owned Angry Birds, but hey, here we go. And I suppose considering that Sega are comparatively smaller than many of the largest AAA Western developers with an internal staff count of 2,000 Japanese staff and 1,500 overseas staff, it certainly does suggest that big ballooning costs will be even more of a problem for the industry sooner rather than later. I mean, who knows, right? Wouldn't it be incredible if we found out what was it called? Suicide Squad killed the Batman? The next game from Rocksteady. I can't wait to find out what that thing's budget has been, because they've been making that supposedly live service hell since 2016. Feel bad for them. Certainly though, you do have to worry about budgets like that. I mean, surely it gets to a stage where the ship is so big and moves so slowly and can be steered so slowly that we just have these companies making like 5, 6, 7 year bets to the tune of like $70+ million. To me, it does not seem like a recipe for incredible game experiences that we can go and enjoy. I don't know, I'm a bit worried for it. Anyway, next, we do have the future of Call of Duty. Apparently the rumors are true. It's very much widely believed that Modern Warfare 3 is going to be Call of Duty 2023, where players will be able to carry over progress from Modern Warfare 2. And I think they've, pretty much confirmed that. I mean, it's kind of funny. For a lot of people in COD, this would actually be a massive win. It would mean all the skins, all the battle pass, progression, all that stuff would actually, it would actually be carried over. So they tweeted this. Let's get this out of the way. Should Modern Warfare 2 operators, weapons, and bundles carry forward into Call of Duty 2023? Yes, and yes, when is the reveal? That said, I think you'd be pretty insane to say no, right? Now you can see how this works, right? It's an obvious win for Activision in terms of public opinion. They then get to confirm that Modern Warfare 2 has still got value to their players, and that means that this game, Modern Warfare 2, it will still drive engagement and drive spending, because in, say, the third quarter of this year, when people know the next game's just around the corner, they will still feel okay making some optional purchases. Maybe buying another DMZ bundle that has some sort of pay-to-win mechanic attached to it, because, hey, that pay-to-win mechanic's going to carry over to the next game. Doesn't that feel great? So it's a bit different, and actually this would be the first direct sequel to a yearly game. I think yearly there is important because obviously we had COD 1, then we had COD 2, then we had COD 3, and those were all, kind of our World War II setting, just of course they were not in the, the grueling one-year schedule that we currently get. But in a way it is Pandora's box, because this is a new precedent being set, right? Because if you say this to players now, Call of Duty 2022, going into Call of Duty 2023, when Call of Duty 2024 happens, and let's just say it's not, it's not like going to be the same setting and people can't carry their shit over, they maybe will get a little bit pissed off with that, because they've been anchored in the expectation that Call of Duty is now something that they, I suppose you could almost say, engage with like how one would buy Destiny, where you buy the game, you buy the big thing every year, and then you buy little things that progressively get bigger in between those big yearly purchases. Now, we do have people like Jason Schreier using this as a confirmation of their own earlier reporting, suggesting there will be at least some crossover in maps from Modern Warfare 2 to 3. Now, it is interesting that he said some and a question mark. A lot of people got used to the idea, right, of Warzone bridging their content between games, because while Warzone 1 was out, multiple yearly CODs happened, and people continued their stuff throughout those multiple yearly CODs. And then Warzone 2 was used as a way to sunset all of that purchased content. And then also they didn't like Warzone 2 and it's not stayed as much as Warzone 1. That was a very contentious thing for the COD players. So who knows then, in 12 months' time, is Call of Duty 2024 is it going to suffer for the need to bridge the gap between this year's release and its release, or even the situation? I mean, I don't imagine they're going to go and do a Call of Duty Vietnam, but if you educate your players that you get to keep your progress between all your games, and then suddenly it's like, well, sorry, we can't go from 2032 to the Vietnam War, so all your stuff's reset. People are going to feel pretty weird about that. Kind of interesting. I don't really know what they'll do. You could almost say, though, that with the ink, I think, just about to be, I don't know, there's a turn of phrase. My point is, the deal is almost through. In a way, you could say that a bunch of this shit's going to be Microsoft's problem. So that's the situation. I'm kind of interested in it. I think Call of Duty's always, it's one of those games. It's always ragged on because it's popular and there are some aspects of its culture that are just a bit tedious and tiresome. But, like, I will admit, the shoot bang is pretty good in Call of Duty. I do like how Modern Warfare 2 plays. I liked how Modern Warfare 2019 plays. And no, not just because I like to hide in corners and kill people and make them angry. That's actually not how I play those games. I'm one of those little, MP5 coke monkeys who just spins around trying to be all movement shooter, which of course means that I usually get minced in the modern games. But hey, it is what it is. It's a series that, like, I am personally decently interested in, even though I almost feel like there's a bit of a cultural penalty to that. It's like I go tell the people in my World of Warcraft channel, oh yeah, by the way, I was playing Call of Duty on the Battle.net launcher, and I feel like they'd all shoot me. So yeah, I mean, hey, don't let them know I told you. And with that said, have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time.